morning, Venters. Let's go over the rules. We like to walk every single day. We like to drink water every single day. And we suggest that you avoid sugar every single day. We are the Venters. Join us every day on a walk and make today that first day where you grab your shoes and walk with me. I'm Jesse. So, welcome to Walk Talk Vent. So I want to welcome you guys to literally the scariest time of the year for people that are into a walking and exercise and diet routine. Why? Is it because it's Halloween and there's scary things all about? Not really, but one thing Halloween does bring is candy. Case in point, Saturday I went to Walmart and I bought a bag of peanut M&Ms and Snickers and Kit Kat. And I bought them specifically to give them out to the trick-or-treaters on Halloween. But one of the first things I did when I came home was I ended up getting a moment of weakness and opening up the peanut M&Ms, and I had a bag or two, maybe even three, of the peanut M&Ms. Now, I don't stress out about it too much because I predominantly drink water, and as you guys know, I walk every single day, but how many people did exactly what I did? As a matter of fact, the person in line at Walmart behind me and the person in line in front of me both had Halloween candy. And neither of them looked like walkers, if you know what I mean. So here's that thing where you have to realize, okay, there's gonna be some 2/3 rules that we need to break here, right? In other words, there's gonna be moments where you have moments of weakness where you go ahead and eat that Snicker bar. You go ahead and eat that Reese's peanut butter cup, ladies, because you know that women find Reese's peanut butter cups to be their favorite candy, and a lot of men do too, but personally, I'm a Snickers guy. Whatever your favorite candy bar is, let me know down below. But what happens right after Halloween? Well, with Halloween, you're gonna eat not only candy the day of and a couple days before, but there's probably a good chance you'll be eating candy for weeks after. And that's gonna bleed right into Thanksgiving, where we start to eat things like ham and turkey, right? Multiple rolls, a handful of different pies from different people's Thanksgiving, because nowadays there's so many double families where you have a stepfather and a stepdad, right? In addition to your traditional mom and dad. And then if you have a spouse, you got to visit their family too. So it's not uncommon for people to actually go to more than one Thanksgiving feast. What happens the day or two after Thanksgiving? You're eating a ton of turkey sandwiches and leftover rolls and leftover pie. And before you know it, when you combine Halloween and Thanksgiving together, you've gained an extra 5-10 pounds. After that, what happens? We roll into Christmas. Good morning. After that, we roll into Christmas. And with Christmas, a lot of times people have a similar meal to Thanksgiving, don't we? So check it out. Just like that, this is that part of the year, and I'm glad we're going through it together because we have advantage as Venters. The advantage we have is that if we walk every single day during this time, which I'm hoping you guys are planning on doing, and if you drink predominantly water, you're probably going to be breaking your diet, but keep in mind, as long as you drink a lot of water and do a lot of walking, you'll be obeying the 2/3 rule. What that should create, ladies and gentlemen, is a situation where instead of gaining 3, 4, 5 pounds like the average American does this time of year, maybe we could get through unscathed and just break even. Now here's the good news. What happens immediately after Christmas? A lot of us do what we call a New Year's resolution. So if you're listening to my voice for the first time, why don't you contemplate the idea of starting your New Year's resolution a couple of months early? Hey, good morning. And I'm serious when I say this, boys and girls, because if you think about it, the average person does gain weight, and a lot of times when it comes to the New Year's resolution, the average person holds on to their resolution for about 3 months. Now that 3 months is great if you're starting a workout routine, but if you're hoping to lose weight, starting a workout routine might actually not be the best idea, because usually workout routines equate to us wanting to go and lift weights and gain muscle. When you do that, you have a tendency to raise your appetite. So the last thing you want to do when you're trying to lose weight is raise your appetite. Instead, what we need to do is try to lower our appetite. So here's what I propose. Instead of eating your eggs and bacon breakfast, it's a little early, I apologize, you might want to start eating some oatmeal, not to punish yourself, but just to prepare for all the food that you're about to devour. Because I don't think you necessarily want to be that man or woman that decides not to eat a very nice Thanksgiving meal. This is that time of year where you want to be able to eat a nice turkey dinner with your family. I believe today is day 46, and if it's day 46 for you, that means we have 45 days to go on this walking challenge. 45 days from now, we're going to be really close to New Year's, and this is about the time where I start to tell people, I have something to tell you. It's never been a 90-day walking challenge for me. It's been a lifestyle. And right now, if you've been walking with me for the last month and a half, I'd like you to consider something. Instead of walking for another 45 days and finishing out this 90-day challenge together, I'd like you to consider the idea of making it a lifetime challenge. And if you enjoy your walk now, I think you should keep it going forever. I've been walking for a long time, for 2.5 decades, basically every single day. I've missed days here and there, but I've also had days where I've gone on 2 or 3 walks. So you're talking about somebody that puts a lot of mileage on their shoes. And because of that, every Thanksgiving and Christmas, I'm usually able to go by unscathed. And if you've been averaging a couple pounds of weight gain every year at this time, I think this will be that first year where you'll be really excited that you decided to become a venter. I've been telling you guys the last handful of days or the last week or two that it's really fascinating that when it's 100 degrees or more out, people aren't taking their dogs on as many walks. People don't come out for the enjoyment of putting their shoes on and going on a healthy walk. People just avoid it altogether. Now, all of a sudden, the morning temperatures are in the 60s and 70s, and all of a sudden, people are out and about walking. If only they could struggle their way through the heat of the summer, they would be in much better shape. So here's my question to you. You battled through the summer. You went through those tough, sweaty days with me. What are you going to do now that the winters are perfect for me in Arizona, but they might be challenging where you are in Canada or in Boston or the eastern part of the United States, where it might always be cold this time of year? And when I say cold, I don't mean 50 degrees like Arizona. It might be 20 or 30 degrees. There might be snow on the ground. Now, obviously, you've gone through winters before, so I would make sure that you have a plan. What are you going to do if you have a week or two where you can't really walk outside? Do you have a church or a gym in your area where you could walk? If so, do it. If you want to get one of those walking pads or a treadmill, this might be the time to buy yourself that early Christmas gift. Remember, when we walk, I urge you guys to be proactive. Make proactive plans. Don't cancel Thanksgiving. That's not a good plan at all. What you want to do is just try to make smart decisions. Most people's Thanksgiving involves vegetables, right? You don't necessarily have to go for the extra serving of mashed potatoes and gravy. Go for the extra serving of green beans. Go for the extra serving of carrots. Take that extra salad rather than that extra portion of food. Remember, if you eat one meal, that's a dinner. If you eat seconds and thirds, that's a second and third dinner, and that's a recipe for disaster. This is that time of year where we tend to pig out. We don't eat like we normally do. Why? I think it goes back to that situation that we all grew up in when we were little, where our parents told us to clean our plate. What the heck, Jesse, does that have to do with now? Well, think about it. You're going to have a turkey, and almost always there's leftover food. You're going to pack up that food and send it home with your kids and with your family members. That's great. But more than likely, you're still going to have quite a bit of leftovers at your disposal. And it's those leftovers that are going to potentially take your diet and exercise that you've been succeeding on thus far, and you're going to throw it out the window. So what I'm recommending is, now is the time to bust out the extra credit. Now is the time to say, hey, I'm going to have all this food, so I'm going to ditch the Coke and drink water with it. You want to make plans to lessen the negative stuff and increase the positive stuff. Because I'm telling you guys, as we get older, these things become more challenging. So if you've been walking with me consistently, this is not the time to give up. This is the time to add extra credit. Instead of having turkey, ham, and all the fixings, really focus on the salad, really focus on the vegetables. Stay a little bit away from the mashed potatoes and gravy. Can you have your mashed potatoes and gravy? Sure. Have one serving. Don't have 4 or 5. And it's okay to have leftovers, but don't have leftovers in addition to your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Have leftovers for your breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because I think we can all agree baked turkey, which is basically what most of us eat this time of year, is actually pretty decent for you. It's probably better than having a hamburger or a steak. So enjoy the turkey, but you gotta plan. And if you don't plan, then you're planning for failure. Now you might be thinking, Jesse, I have every intention of drinking water. I have every intention of eating reasonably, and I have every intention of not having leftovers for days on end afterwards. But you got to remember, this is where you're going to start having food pushers come in. This is where Aunt Patty is going to offer you a little bit of her cheesecake, and Aunt Carla is going to offer you that special dish that she makes, right? And your Uncle Carl is going to be urging you to take a second and third biscuit, and he's going to tell you how his biscuits are the best. And if you don't have that second or third biscuit, you might be letting Uncle Carl down. So let people know in advance, hey, I'm trying to make this year the year where I don't gain 5 or 6 pounds. So Uncle Carl, I'm going to have one of your biscuits, but I'm going to hold off at just one, okay? And if it's really delicious, have one of Uncle Carl's biscuits the following day. There's no reason why we can't try to be reasonable when it comes to our food selection. This is that time of year where people fail so miserably that they usually try to fix things with a New Year's resolution. But I want you guys to think about things. How many New Year's resolutions have you had in the past? I've been able to go through the holiday season the last decade or so, and I almost never gain any extra weight. And if I do, it's something that I don't really notice because I never stop my walking routine. So if you're really stressed about it, just know, if you're already in your walking routine, this is going to be a great year for you. You can actually eat that second or third portion as long as you never quit your walking routine. What I'm talking to is mainly new venters that are just getting in to their 45th or 46th day. And if you are in your 46th day and you haven't been losing weight, this is that time where you'll actually start losing weight. So we don't really want to blow it by Halloween candy, and we don't want to blow it with Thanksgiving meals or Christmas meals. I can do this. You can do this. We can do this. Let's do this. I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but Mayor Rudy Giuliani, who I believe was the mayor of New York when they were going through 9/11, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's the deal with Rudy. He apparently got sued in this election fraud case he had against 2 women. And apparently the judge, as a punishment, decided to basically take $149 million worth of money and property from Rudy and give it to the 2 people that he defamed. Here's my question for you. Most of the time when a cop unlawfully takes somebody's life, a lot of times they'll be rewarded 25 or 30 or 60 million bucks. These 2 women to be awarded 149 million. I mean, I don't care what party you're on. Does that seem a little excessive? I mean, can you imagine winning a lottery? A lottery is, let's say, 5, 10, 15 million bucks. You would feel like the luckiest person in the world. But these 2 gals are going to take Rudy for 149 million, and it's really like that movie with Eddie Murphy in the 80s, Trading Places, because they're literally making Rudy Giuliani poor while they're making these 2 the equivalent of not a lottery winner, but a Powerball winner. So do I feel like if you win a judgment against somebody, you should get paid? Yes. But, there is some things in this country known as cruel and unusual punishment. And I understand what Rudy Giuliani did, but it looks like Rudy Giuliani was just one of millions of people who felt like the election wasn't necessarily on the up and up. So I would love your guys' opinion on it. Hey, good morning. Guys, that was the Red Venter LeBeau walking with someone I assume is either a friend, neighbor, or a loved one. You've been trying to ask your spouse to walk with you and they didn't want to because it's too hot. Well, now it's that time of year where the temperatures are perfect. Ask your significant other if they'd like to walk with you. And by the way, I'm not going to lose sleep over the Mayor Giuliani situation, but there is something kind of cruel about going from $150 of net worth down to 0. Something very, very cruel about it. But I was reading some comments off of what I heard from this Giuliani thing, and a lot of the people were kind of agreeing with me in the comments that this really seems like a crazy punishment. If you take $1 million from an individual, that hurts. But when you start taking 149 million to the point where they have to liquidate their apartment and they have to liquidate their, various property around the world that they own, I don't know. To me, that just sounds very, very cruel. I think that again, I haven't been the biggest fan or proponent of the legal system around the country, and I haven't been the biggest fan of judges. It's really weird how these same judges that are okay with breaking a man financially, and again, guys, we're talking about taking 150 million bucks and literally breaking a human being. These same judges that are okay with that will give a tiny, easily achievable bond to somebody that's guilty of allegedly committing a murder or committing spousal abuse or committing child abuse. These same people are able to get small bonds and easygoing punishments. But when it comes to anybody on one side of that issue, and the reason I say that issue is because, guys, there was a lot of weird things that happened 4 years ago. One of the things that I like telling people about, because it's really true, is where I live in Arizona, for every 4 or 5 Trump signs that were up back in the day, there was only 1 or 2 Biden signs. I mean, it literally looked like if you would have asked people, hey, who's going to win this election in Arizona? I think most people would have said, it looks like Trump is going to cruise to victory, but it didn't work out that way. It really didn't. Here's the best way I could describe it. When I was young in the 90s, almost everybody had a pair of Nikes. Now imagine if you go to school and everybody's wearing Nikes, and then all of a sudden you find out that the #1 popular shoe in America are British Knights or LA Gear. Notice I went with companies that aren't even around anymore, because that's what it kind of felt like. And I'm telling you, we live in a country where people do scandalous and shady things. Did Giuliani take it too far? Yeah, but I don't know if he took it so far where you need to break him financially the way they are. As a matter of fact, it seems like nowadays, most of the bad guys, when they go to prison, it sounds like they never get fully broke. They never get to the point where they have to file bankruptcy. This guy is literally getting the book thrown at him, the kitchen stove thrown at him, and the sink thrown at him. And that's a little too bad. I think it would be nice if President Trump would try to do something to help Giuliani, considering Giuliani kind of stuck his neck out for the president. Now, there's one thing that Giuliani has going for him outside of everything. When I look at the man, it looks like a guy that's pushing 80 years old. If you know how old Giuliani is, maybe let me know down below. But if you're pushing 80 years old, you've probably gotten to a point in your life where you don't necessarily need to have 150 million bucks. But he's going to be, it looks like he's to the point where he's going to have $0 left. And I don't like the idea of senior citizens being left in poverty because of a horrible mistake they made. Because I don't know if you guys would agree or not. Apparently, one of the things that went into this decision was these two ladies that he accused of fraud ended up getting death threats. But when you get death threats, I think that's a little bit different than actually have somebody, attempt a murder on you. Look at this person. She's not even looking. No harm, no foul. Guys, when you're walking, you have to make sure that you keep your head on a swivel. This is twice now that people have had basically a silent car. And if it wasn't for me paying attention, these people would have potentially hit me with their vehicle. And it's happened just over the last 3 days. So let's put on our future predictor hat. Let's put on our abracadabra hats. We're looking into our crystal ball. In the future, you're going to have more pedestrians get hit than ever from distracted drivers. And because distracted drivers will have their cell phone out, or they'll be doing anything but focusing on the road, you're going to have a situation where they are literally in a silent vehicle that no one's going to be able to hear. When you couple that with the fact that half the time people are out and about, they've got their face into their phone, you've got a future recipe for disaster. So I'm just going to make a prediction that in the year 2040, so about 17 years from now, my prediction is most of the cars are going to be completely silent, and there's going to be an uptake on pedestrians that get taken out by cars. Because one of the advantages we have as human beings is we're able to sense things with our ears when our eyes aren't paying attention. You can normally hear a vehicle when it gets within 30 or 40 yards of you. But with these silent EVs and hybrids, you can't hear anything even when the car is right next to you. Does anybody else besides me think that's a little scary? Has anyone else besides me been in a situation during their walks where someone darn near hit them? And if you go to every single intersection in this country, and I mean every single one, more than likely someone has perished by getting hit by a car. Keep in mind, once again, most of those happened in situations where you could at least hear the car coming. With these vehicles, they are silent. By the way, did you know that that's why they call sneakers sneakers? Apparently back in the day, shoes made that click-clock sound because they were all wooden dress shoes, right? Or hard-soled dress shoes. I don't know if they were made of wood exactly. I guess leather would be a better term. But they all have that click-clack sound. With sneakers, all of a sudden you had a situation where people could walk right by you and you couldn't hear the sound of their shoes. That's what's going to happen in the automobile world, and it's already happening now. So just like your boy has come within a couple of feet of getting hit 2 out of the last 3 or 4 days, that's going to happen to you, and more importantly, that's going to happen to others. So again, whatever you do, don't start looking down at your feet. Don't start walking while you're reading a book or looking at your phone. Keep your head up and on a swivel, because the last thing we want you to do is have to go through rehab because of a car accident, because if a car hits you, the car's gonna win. You're gonna lose. It's not gonna be fun. So I want you guys to really be able to have a plan to get through Halloween. You're probably gonna have a bowl of candy right in front of you the whole day. Try to avoid it, you know? Yes, it's addictive. Yes, it pulls at you. But we also have free will, and you can set your free will to, I'm gonna stay away from the candy, and just do it. Stay away from it. If you do end up eating it, don't throw your hands up in the air and quit. This is the most important time, and I want us all to do this together. So again, if you're new, don't quit. We're gonna keep walking, we're gonna keep drinking water, and we're gonna try our best to avoid sugar. But if you do end up eating sugar, keep walking and drinking water. And if you have some of your Aunt Kathy's sweet tea, keep walking and try to avoid the pie and stuff. Give yourself a treat, but don't give yourself a punishment. Because if you quit your diet and exercise routine, that's a punishment. Have a wonderful day. This cold weather makes it a little bit more challenging to wake up in the morning. So I'm sure you're going to be dealing with that same thing, but keep moving. We'll see you tomorrow.